It's time to go back to school in this week's What You Should Be Watching. So let's talk about that. Hey everyone, welcome back to What You Should Be Watching this weekend. This week's pick is my first sitcom, something that has been out for a little while. And although it's still technically airing on television, it is fully out now for you to enjoy on one of these streaming services. Remember, What You Should Be Watching is our weekly show where I tell you one thing that you can probably watch so you don't have to go through these thousands of streamers and channels and options. So let's get into it. This week's pick, it is English Teacher, the FX Hulu comedy drama that has been turning heads. This show is funny, it's sharp, it's socially aware, and it is full of heart. And if you're into shows that know how to balance humor, identity, real stakes, I think this one is well worth your time. So let's talk about it. Here's the scoop for the show. English Teacher was created by Brian Jordan Alvarez. Now, I was not aware who Alvarez was before the first season of English Teacher. So I'm very glad to have had this creator come into my life of entertainment. He also stars as Evan Marquez. Alvarez actually wears a lot of different hats on the show: writer, director, producer, actor. So the tone, at least to me, what conveys to the screen is very personal. Although the show originally premiered in 2024 on FX, with episodes becoming available on Hulu the next day in early 2025, it was renewed for season two, which returned at the end of September. The show itself is set in Austin, Texas, in Morrison Hensley High School. So, being a show based on tech in Texas, there's definitely a little bit of an extra connection for myself, although not exactly my high school experience in Texas. There's a lot of things that I can definitely relate to. But the show is very relatable, even even if you're not in school, even if you're not in Texas. I think there's a lot of stuff that really catches the audience. Evan Marcus is a high school English teacher navigating work, politics, identity, school drama, and then, of course, the kids nowadays. The supporting cast also includes Gwen Sanders, who is a history teacher, and Principal Grant Moretti, played by Enrico Colantoni, legend of TV, and Marky Hillrich as is Sean Patton. We also have other characters that come in and out. I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about this show, it feels like the students themselves are portrayed very genuinely. Like, like I don't interact with a lot of kids in that age range just because my family members are not that old yet, or they're not really of that high school age at the moment. So it's really interesting to see. But to me, it feels definitely um, very realistic, very much like kids of today would be. English teacher Evan is often trying to do the right thing or stand for something, but the school environment, parents, students, his own life, they complicate things very fast. So without spoiling much, early in the show, Evan comes under scrutiny after a parent complains about him kissing someone at school, which turns into controversy. We also see his different relationships with Wen, who is the friend and colleague. Also, we have ongoing personal life connections with Malcolm, his on off again kind of boyfriend. Their relationship is I'm not gonna put a label on it because they don't put a label on it, right? So that's not up to me. And then also how all these things kind of overlap with his every day-to-day work setting, his work life. The show mixes a lot of different styles of satire, social commentary, character moments, and it really leans into how politicized a lot of school students, social media, identity politics, even generational divides, the shape of the classroom, or even topics covered in the classroom. Um, but it never feels preachy. It just feel like this is kind of what's really going on. So let's talk about it. Uh, you know, Episode one gives you enough ground, so it's a really good idea to just check out the pilot to see if this is the type of show that is for you. Being a comedy, I feel it's always a little bit harder to recommend the comedy because people have different nuances and different things that they find funny, right? But the school environment, the early tension, and then of course all the little hints at later conflict, I feel it's enough that you will get invested. Now, let's talk about why I put the English teacher on the weekend list. There's a few reasons. First of all, a very strong critical reception, right? Season one, as of today, still holds around 98% in the tomato meter. Now, I know Rotten Tomatoes is not the end all be all, but 98% is still pretty solid for a show that's been over a year old. It also has a distinct voice and perspective, right? It brings a lot of different things. This political lens, this high school setting, some things we don't really see very much done. I feel like it's kind of a risk because it's going to a lot of places that people may not want to explore. It is very funny. It is humor with a bite, right? It's not just fluff. Some of the show's best moments are how it navigates a lot of these social pressures, the awkwardness, the identity, and the absurdities of like a lot of these school politics. I think there's a lot of relatable stakes here. Teacher burnout, student voices, parental pressure, institutional constraints. Like you can definitely, even if you're not a teacher yourself, a lot of these things affect your day-to-day life. So the show has threads that kind of resonate that with all that those things beyond just the comedy. And then of course the cast and the execution of the show, the leads and the supporting characters, especially like I said, especially a lot of the students and the other teachers, they really deliver, right? We have Evan's sincerity. Wen's a very loyal character. The way that the principal deals with every conflict. Like it's just very standoffish, and I think that really adds to how funny it is. Because although maybe Evan and the principal are, not just colleagues, but maybe even friends, they still have a very interesting dynamic from the principal who is in charge and responsible for the full school, whereas Evan is only really responsible for, their stakes are a lot lower for him. So all those, even the most exaggerated moments, feel very grounded. Um, in the pilot, we meet Evan, we see the school world, we watch the conflict start and kind of get thrown into all this controversy. The show doesn't waste any time setting it up. That's why I recommend you check it out just to see if this is going to be up your alley. It sets up an emotional connection while also planting a lot of friction lines, and that's kind of where the conflict grows. And by the end of the first episode, you'll want to see how is Evan going to handle all this fallout? How are his relationships going to evolve? What are his kids going to do next to kind of like not really piss him off, but just like to put another challenge on top of him? And then what is the school going to try to do, right? It's not really a cliffhanger. It's just more like, here we are. We'll see you in the classroom tomorrow for the next episode. And I think you'll realize that this show wants to keep you around for the full ride. They're very short seasons. I think they're about 10 episodes each. You can watch both of them now on Hulu, or you can still pace it out as you kind of rewatch. Or if you're watching these on television on FX, you'll get one a week. So, some of the things to kind of keep an eye out for the show, of course, the themes of authenticity and identity. Who is Evan versus how he's being perceived by his students, by the school, by the parents, the power and control of institutions. Who has a voice in this school? Is it the parents? Who is silent? How are the rules put together? How do they get bent? There's all the involvement in the district. I think Abbott Elementary does a pretty good job at tackling some of these same topics. Also, we have social media and public scrutiny. Things that happen in a school don't just happen in a school anymore. In modern high schools, nearly everything is snapshot. There's a video, there's a recording, a complaint. So all these things are a lot more public than in prior eras. We also have a lot of the moral contradictions. Sometimes Evan's intentions are good, but the consequences can be very messy for him or others around him. So that's also something to keep an eye out. Now, here's one question. If you do watch the show, let me know. Do you think Evan is too idealistic to survive this type of environment? Or is that exactly what is needed? Let me know your thoughts in the comment. I want to see where you land on all this. So, if you're looking for something sharp, funny, meaningful to watch this weekend, you can watch English Teacher, both seasons streaming now on FX and Hulu. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to smack that like button, subscribe, ring the bell, and tell me your thoughts in the comments on Evan, on Wen, on the coach. Who do you relate to the most? And of course, come back next weekend for another pick. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.